everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film an author spotlight video for Sonia Shah, who was the Book Naturalist Book Club pick for the month of May. So I have two books on my shelves that I own that are by this author. One is The Next Great Migration, The Beauty and Terror of Life on the Move, which I read a couple years ago. And then I also have her earlier work, Pandemic, Tracking Contagions from Cholera to Ebola and Beyond. And this is a book that I've read twice now. This was first published in 2016, and The Next Great Migration was published in 2020. Both of these books are great, and I highly recommend them. And particularly Pandemic, which, as I said, I've read twice. But I ended up reading The Fever by Sonia Shah for this time's Book Naturalist Book Club pick. So a little bit of information about Sonia Shah. She is an American science journalist. She was born in 1969, I believe. Yeah, she's a few years older than me, which kind of blows my mind because she's published 6 books in her lifetime, not to mention she's edited quite a few more and has written various articles for periodicals and has given TED Talks and things like that. So she's very well known in the science journalism field. She's very accomplished in that field. She is a graduate of Oberlin College, and she is the daughter of Indian immigrants. So yeah, she has a lot to back her up with her science writing. And I think she's a really fantastic writer. And as I said, I read her book, The Fever, the subtitle of which is How Malaria Has Ruled Humankind for 500,000 Years. And that was first published in 2010. So it's one of her older works. And I really found it quite interesting. I found it to be quite on the same level as Pandemic by this author. It had very similar style, where she's basically giving the history of malaria, how we figured out where it came from, the tools that we've used to try to fight it over time as humans. And so it was super interesting. There was a lot in there about how we first figured out that mosquitoes are the vector, but mosquitoes aren't the thing that has malaria. It's a parasite within mosquitoes that is the cause of us contracting malaria. And malaria is a disease that has various parasites that cause different versions of that disease. Some are more lethal or more virulent than others. And not every mosquito harbors parasites that carry malaria. So there's a lot of moving parts there, and she takes us through each one of those in a very engaging and well-written way. It's very, she makes it understandable because it is a very complex science. I found particularly the last 2/3 of the book to be the best part of the book. The very first part is really the earliest history of what we knew about anything to do with disease, right? We thought it was all these things that it wasn't. And the technology, the medical technology and the science technology, how that's improved and how that's allowed us to really understand. And we didn't really fully understand malaria and what it was and how it was transmitted until the late 1800s, early 1900s. So it's a fairly new thing for us to have the ability to even treat malaria. I mean, we figured out that quinine would combat the symptoms of malaria back in the 1800s, but we didn't realize what was actually causing malaria. Some people thought it was mosquitoes, but not everybody believed that. There was still the bad air theory floating around at that point, pun intended. So yeah, it was really interesting to read that history, but as she got into the more modern days and the tools and techniques that humans have used to try to combat this disease and where we've fallen down in our fight against malaria, it was super interesting. And in particularly the last chapter where she talks about public health initiatives and how globally the more developed nations have really let the global south down in this regard. Like, it's just one more way that industrialized nations have let down the global south in terms of technology transfer, tools to get the job done, and lack of understanding of their cultures and their lifestyles and their way of being in the world. Because not all of Western style technology and knowledge sits well at the community level in a lot of areas in the global south. And in particular, Africa has been left to manage disease on their own. And that's really sad and really frustrating and disheartening. And Sonia Shah goes into that a lot. And I think she does a really great job about it. So I would highly recommend The Fever if you have not read any Sonia Shah. I think it's as good a place as any to start with her. I obviously love Pandemic. I've read it twice. But if you're not ready to read a pandemic book, perhaps Malaria is a book for you. I will also say that The Fever may be a book for you about malaria. The Fever pairs well with this book, The Mosquito, A Human History of Our Deadliest Predator by Timothy Weingard, which I read last year, I believe. I think that the two books go really well together. So if you've already read The Mosquito and you're looking for a more in-depth discussion and maybe a more discussion that's geared more towards cultural issues and political issues, I think the Sonia Shah book is really the way to go. So that was a fantastic read for me. I'm super glad that we focused on Sonia Shah in the month of May. So what will we be doing for the month of June? Well, June is Pride Month, and it's also Cribathon for two reading themes that are happening in the month of June. So Doris and I decided that we'd pick two different topic areas, or two books to hit those two topic areas. And so for Pride Month, our pick for the month is this book, a new release from last year, Bitch, on the Female of the Species by Lucy Cooke. And this is a book about gender in the animal kingdom. And I am super interested to read this. I've had it for like 6 months and I've been dying to read this book all that time. I've heard great things about it. This is Cooke rewriting the science of evolution and sex. I shouldn't say gender, I should say sex. Super excited to read about this and see what this one's all about. And that is for the theme of Pride Month. And then for the Cribathon, we are doing another author spotlight, and that is on Jamaica Kincaid, an author from Antigua in the Caribbean. I had already read A Small Place, which is this very slim nonfiction book all about what it's like to live in the Caribbean and have people coming to visit your home as tourists, and what that does to your community, to be a place where people visit for tourism, for the purpose of tourism. And this is fantastic. Jamaica Kincaid is a super awesome writer, and I can highly recommend A Small Place. Plus that it's just a little dinky thing, so you can certainly pick this up and read it in the month of June. But I've already read this, so I wanted to read something else by Jamaica Kincaid, and I have some options here. These are not all my books, but I have these available to me. So another copy of A Small Place. I also have nonfiction, My Brother by Jamaica Kincaid, which is her memoir of her brother. And I've heard really good things about this one. I have a short story collection by Jamaica Kincaid. This is At the Bottom of the River. And I understand these stories are very much rooted in place and geography. And it's also very slim. I have 3 choices for fiction. I have Annie John. I think maybe her most famous piece of writing. This is about the island of Antigua specifically, so it is a lot about the geography of that place. And it's also about a mother-daughter relationship, I think. So yeah, I'm really interested in that one. And then 2 other ones that are novels. This is The Autobiography of My Mother by Jamaica Kincaid, and I also have Lucy. So I have all these physical copies of Jamaica Kincaid books to read if I wanted to, but I think what I'm actually going to pick up is an ebook of hers called My Garden, and it is a collection of her nonfiction writing about her love of gardening. And I have that one available to me on Scribd, and I think that would be a really excellent choice for me for the Book Naturalist Book Club for the month of June. So in June, just to recap, we're going to be reading Bitch by Lucy Cooke, and we're going to be doing an author spotlight on Jamaica Kincaid. I hope that at least one of these areas of reading you will be able to join us in reading in the month of June. I hope you all had an opportunity to read a book by Sonia Shah or some kind of writing by Sonia Shah in the month of May. Tell me all about it down below. If you did, I'd be really interested to know which piece of hers you picked up and what you thought of it. And let me know if you're planning on reading along with us in the month of June. I hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read. I will talk to you later.